Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming. This is Historic Landmark Preservation Commission. My name is Mark Grunblatt. I'm the chair of the commission, so I'd like to welcome you all. We'll be marching through the agenda. A couple of housekeeping items. Bathrooms are through Common Council into the hallway on the other side of the Common Council chamber. In case of fire, do not attempt to use the elevator. Please, everyone goes down the stairs. And if you need to have conversations, we'd ask that you take it outside the room. And we have a sign-in sheet. Where do you want to start? Directly behind me is probably the best place. We need a pen. I think we can spare a pen. All right. Let's see. First, normally at the beginning of meetings, we give the public a chance to address us on questions of general concern. I ask that you hold this to 2 or 3 minutes if you can, and be respectful of other speakers. Let folks complete, and there should not be crosstalk. This is your chance to tell us what you find important. Is there someone who would like to address the board at this time? Hi. Hi, Marissa.
Do we want to just go around and introduce, because he's just...
Oh, that's an excellent idea. Yes, we should introduce ourselves. Sorry. Welcome.
Thank you. Hayes Clement. I'm a member of the HLPC and chairman of the Heritage Area Commission.
I'm Kevin McAvoy. I'm on this board, and I think I'm the acting secretary for this meeting, and I'm on several other boards, but we'll continue on.
Julie, if you'd introduce yourself.
Julie Edelson Safford.
Leslie
Melvin.
All right. We have an absence today. Jane Birmingham is not here, and we have an open seat that has not yet been filled. All right, thank you.
To my fellow colleagues, as you can see, I'm not sitting with you at the table tonight, nor is Alan there. Yesterday, both of us got the boot from Mayor Noble. He told me he was dismissing me because our visions for historic preservation did not align. He also said I was not fit to be a landmarks commissioner. About his vision, the entirety of it can be summed in 2 words: merging commissions. It is the only preservation policy initiative he has put forward since he has been in office. He will point to the new administrative position that he recently created as evidence that he supports a strong municipal preservation program. And while I agree it's better than having no administrative support, which was our situation for more than a year, the annual salary, less than $19,000, is far from commensurate with the qualification he seeks, which includes an advanced degree in historic preservation or a related field. I thought it was his administration's desire to attract talented professionals who work in local government. I suppose it still is, as long as that new talent is willing to work with peanuts. My vision, and I think the collective vision of this body in recent years, has been to increase the professionalism and credibility of the Landmarks Commission. I am incredibly proud of the improvements we have made together. First, we have come into compliance with as a certified local government by submitting annual reports and receiving annual commissioner training. The state administered program provides us valuable technical support and grant funding. I hope we maintain compliance going forward. We also have made great strides in adhering to proper procedures in terms of how our meetings are conducted, delivering clear findings of fact that are tied to our review criteria, and making sure our written decisions are thorough enough to be easily understood by a judge. I have included in the materials I just handed out a guide that I created for making findings of fact. Most importantly, I'm proud of our engagement with applicants. Education, open dialogue, and recent decisions form the core of this commission's work. It was my hope that in my tenure we would designate a new historic district and have it nominated to the National Register so that property owners within it qualify for historic tax credits for undertaking rehabilitation work. It's been 30 long years since the Commission has designated a historic district. However, with Kevin McAvoy's help and support of the Kingston Land Trust, 2 weeks ago, a Preserve New York grant was submitted to fund certification of the Fair Street Historic District, which is currently the only district that's locally designated only, but that property owners within that district will qualify for tax credits. With certification, it was my hope to work with the Common Council to improve existing preservation ordinance so that it is more in keeping with the 2014 New York State Model Preservation Law. I doubt that effort will be moving forward now. It was also my hope that there would be a collegial working relationship between our commission and members of the administration. Unfortunately, they are not welcoming of new ideas that are not their own. Some members tend to be obstinate, incurious, uncommunicative, and at times resentful of being questioned. I would argue that some officials have occupied their desks for far too long to the detriment of our changing city. This commission is the backbone of historic preservation in Kingston. This is why it is so incredibly important that this citizen body maintain an independent voice in city government. You are not here to carry out the mayor's agenda, nor are you to be distracted with a paper box in Uptown. Your legislative intent is to promote and protect Kingston's landmarks and historic districts and for the education, pleasure, and general welfare of our community today and tomorrow. Please keep your focus on that. Thank you for your service. It was an honor to serve with you.
And thank you. All right, would anyone else care to address the board? Oh, someone behind me.
Yeah.
It's your disadvantage.
Hi, my name is Jed Schmidt. I'm the owner of the Colonel Abraham Hasbrook House on Green Street. And we're just wrapping up our renovation, and so I'm kind of paying it forward to my neighbor, Jim, who you'll be hearing from later. Just wanted to voice my support for his upcoming project. I've seen the plans, and I'm very inspired that I have a talented architect as a neighbor who is going to continue contributing to our block. So I hope you will take a listen to what he has to say later. That's about it.
Cool. All right. Thank you. Oh, Jane,
No,
hi.
I'm sorry I'm so late.
If you would introduce yourself.
My name's Jane Birmingham.
Yeah, we just finished public comments, so if no one else is interested in addressing the board, I'll close the public
I'll
comment.
address it. Please.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks. So the merging of
If you would
John
identify
McGarvin,
yourself. Thank you.
Ward Street, Kingston. The merging of commissions is something that was brought up. Merging tonight, without any announcement, we discovered that the Historic Landmarks Preservation Commission and the Heritage Area Commission have been merged, apparently, or are planning to be merged. It's not clear what is going on. The mayor dismissed two really great preservationists, one by trade, professionally by trade with much experience, and who has contributed a lot to the city of Kingston. With the main point being that she's not a good representative of his agenda, that she spoke out publicly in conflict with what he was trying to do. The boards and commissions, I think people might want to start thinking about, what are our boards and commissions for? Are they to further the agenda of whatever the current administration is? I know that it's just one mayor who appoints all boards and commissions. But should they then be the ruler of the commissions? People are volunteering to be on these commissions and boards. They're not getting paid. They're doing it because they want to serve the city. They're not doing it because they want to serve the administration. So I hope that, my hope would be that we have many people quitting the boards and commissions going forward. I don't believe that this is a tenable situation. And I frankly believe that most people are wasting their time who serve on the boards and commissions. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I have a question. Hillary Harvey for Radio Kingston. I'm wondering how you're going to address the fact that you no longer, that HLPC is no longer in compliance with the zoning codes without an architect on the board, on the commission?
There are candidates that are being considered at this point.
And they're architects?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, then I'm going to close the public comment section and move on to the agenda. All right, who's up first?
Adoption of the minutes.
Okay. Stay seated. Yes, for a moment. Has everyone had a chance to review last month's minutes?
Yes.
Any questions regarding them? I wasn't present, so I had no comment. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as submitted. Okay, a second, please. A second. All those in favor? Aye.
Okay.
I'll abstain since I wasn't here.
Okay.
Do we have any extra agendas? Ask the council
I
question.
had one.
Mark, are you abstained, Jane?
Pardon?
Are you abstained?
No, I voted. I reviewed them.
Okay.
And I was able to, I had time to ask a couple questions. All right.
No extras.
No, I just brought the one. Do we have any extras?
Have extras.
All right, then I'm going to try and be as clear as I can. The first order of old business is 301 Wall Street. Scott, I think you're up on this.
Thank you.
Julie, are you abstaining from
I'm
this?
going to abstain.
Okay.
Good evening.
Council has said that I don't need to abstain.
Hello, Scott.
There's no conflict. It was an overabundance of caution that Julie wanted to abstain, but there's really
It's
no...
not necessary.
It's not necessary.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Scott Dutton. I reside at 19 Canfield Street. I'm the architect for Hudson Valley Development Kingston LLC. First item up is 301 Wall Street that I presented to the board last month. The applicant is seeking permission to install 2 light fixtures on 301 Wall Street. There's a photo simulation in your packet and a cut sheet for the proposed light fixtures. This would be on the John Street entrance that was recently installed. 2 small sconces, one on either side of the emergency egress door.
Pointed up or pointed down?
Pointed down. And in your packet, there's a cut sheet of the fixture.
Just looking here.
Sure, certainly. You can hang on to that.
Thank you.
You?
Yep.
All right. Does anyone else have any questions for the proponent?
It's from early.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve as submitted.
You have to do secret first.
Ah,
Type 2.
all right. We need to explain this a bit to board. We've been asked to do a formal SEQR determination. For many years, the board relied on being exempt. There are some cases where that is not always true, and at the request of our council, they've asked that we do formal SEQR reviews. Now, SEQR stands for State Environmental Quality Review Act. It requires us to classify this project as we can see there are certain criteria within SEQR law, typically things like disturbing a certain acreage, impacts on clean water, on clean air. These are rarely an issue in historic preservation, and so almost everything that we are likely to do would be classified as a type 2 action under SEQR. There's actually one subsection of the state law that specifically mentions historic preservation as a type 2 action. So by going through this additional step that we have done quite rarely up till now and reserved only for very large projects, we've been asked to go through this on even small projects such as this. So,
could we circle back around to that later? Because my understanding is the preservation world does not do.
I've done some checking on this. Most of what we do could also be classified as exempt, but this provision specifically under type 2, you asked me, it's, I believe, section 617 1F, 6F, if I recall this correctly, specifically names historic preservation determinations as type 2. And because the exemption is something that has existed from the beginning of SEQR, which is, Dan, am I right, around 75? Somewhere in there. Yeah, from 1975 forward. The inclusion of historic preservation specifically in the type 2 list is more recent. So we can discuss it in more detail, but they are asking us to march through this in sort of the standard type 1, type 2 determination. There are...
right. I mean, I've cited the code section specifically for you on here. So just recognizing the fact that this particular project in front of you at this time is a type 2, which is an exempt action. You can cite this action. It's
right. For years we have operated under a total exemption from SEQR, and that is open to challenge. And so this is protective of our decisions.
And another thing I'm just going to add is that we're hoping to put together a workshop where SEQR will be the focus, the main focus, to educate all of the commission members, not only from the HLPC, from the HIC, and from the planning board and the zoning board of appeals. It will be open to the general public as well. So
I make a motion that we declare this a type 2 action under SEQR.
Do I have a second? Or do you have a
So
question?
we're voting on...
Yes, only on the designation as type 2. Question?
I second.
If we have a second. All right, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you. All right, and now I'll entertain, questions? Yeah, a motion for approval?
I move that our commission find as a fact the proposed addition of 2 exterior wall sconces on the Front Street entrance of the property at 301 Wall Street, owned by Hudson Valley Development, Kingston LLC, Charles Blockman, as presented by architect Scott Dutton, and completed the plans reviewed in this meeting, is compatible with the character of the Stockade Historic District for the following reasons: that the conversion of the window to an exterior door at this location was previously approved by the HPLC, that this is a commercial building built in 1862 by architect Richard Upjohn, which was subsequently modernized in 1947 per historian William B. Rhodes, that the style, placement, size, and material makeup of the 2 exterior bronze finished aluminum light fixtures, Kirchler, Ripley, branding Kitchler, Ripley outdoor wall light, 49060OZ medium at 10 inches wide and 9 inches high each, is compatible with the existing commercial building as modified and would not detract from the special architectural and historic character of the building of the Stockade Historic District. Based upon the preceding findings of fact, I move that the Historic Landmarks Preservation Commission grant the preservation notice of action to Hudson Valley Development Kingston LLC, Charles Blackman, presented by architect Steve Dutton for the proposal at 301 Wall Street, as presented to our commission on this day, April 4th, 2019, such notice to be subject to the conditions contained in the previous motion.
All right, do I have a second? All right. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Looks unanimous. Thank you.
Just correct the name for the
Yeah,
record.
definitely. Yeah,
Okay.
I got that.
3 going that way, 4 going that direction.
And Scott, if you would combine it with number 9, the signage placement, might as well do give 2 things on the same building.
My friend, your wish is granted. We were hoping that would happen.
Well, we're doing this together in the same building.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
We do the lights first, though, okay?
I'm going to sit over here and watch that. I'm going to stick around. I'm going to do a wrench in the operation.
It's our light that's going to make your sign look good. So.
It's our sign that makes the lights fantastic.
All right.
Okay. Good evening. Representing Ashron LLC, the property owner, and Joe O'Connor of O'Connor Law. Picking up where we left off last month. In your packet, there is a photograph of the building located at 253 Wall Street. The applicant proposes to uplight the facade of the portion of the building that fronts on Main Street and on Wall Street goes back to where the roof line changes. Okay? So across Main Street and back to where the gable end of the structure is. There is a cut sheet of the fixture in your packet. I have brought along a sample with a cord and plug if anyone wants to see it. It is set in the sidewalk, so the top surface is flush with the sidewalk itself. It's an interesting little fixture in that it has adjustment in its beam spread and also its lumen output. So it's something that I think that we'll be using more of in other projects. The cut sheet indicates that the beam spread can be adjusted from 15 degrees, 30 degrees, 45, and 60. And then there are watt adjustments from 10 watts up through 75 watts of power. We would like to place 3 of these on each side to create an even wash on the facade. We're proposing to place them in the middle of the walking surface, which brings the light source far enough away from the stone so that you don't get harsh shadows as the light grazes up the stone, but close enough so that there's still some visual interest. As the light source gets farther and farther away, the facades appear flatter. As the light source gets right up under the building, the shadows of the stone become a little more intense and almost sinister. So
There's a pretty big bow in that wall on the Wall Street side. Is it going to be interrupted by that, or is it going to be far enough out that it?
We're proposing to, if you don't mind, I'll come around.
Right about here.
Right, to go from the corner back to where the gable end starts, and then from here across Main Street.
And they would be cut into the bluestone, or?
Yeah, that's
an amalgam of concrete and bluestone out there. So these would be set into the surface itself. So we'll have to lift up concrete or stone and then put these in and replace the walking surface.
all right. I don't have a sense of what's bluestone and what's concrete. Do you have a sense of, like, will you be moving the bluestone over so you can drop it into the concrete? What's that look like out there?
Replacing in kind with whatever's there now, we would be putting back.
With a hole drilled through it?
Yes, or concrete board around it.
And what is the benefit of having the lighting in-ground versus how lighting is usually placed on a building?
Well, civic buildings, monuments, monumental buildings, it's an honorific way to uplight a facade. Libraries, courthouses, churches, and rather than violate the stone wall, if you will, by drilling through the stone wall and having a modern sconce shining up and down, it's sort of creating a nice glow on that corner there. That's the intent.
Just for curiosity's sake, is this something new for Uptown Kingston, having this in-ground lighting, or as far as you know, or is it anywhere else?
As far as I know, well, the county recently installed some in-ground lighting to uplight the Veterans Memorial. That's the only other one that I can think of.
There's not any at the courthouse?
The courthouse has uplighting on the facade, but those are lights that come up out of the ground, and they're an older style of light, so there's a large head like this.
Yeah.
They look like solid.
Yes.
And are there some on the Old Dutch Church?
I don't recall. But for all intents and purposes, you don't see this fixture. It doesn't stick up out of the ground. It doesn't get, it's not something that folks can trip on,
Just
get
walk
damaged.
over it, right?
You just walk over it, right? It's flushed with the surface of the sidewalk.
And with the clearing of ice and snow, it's not
No,
adversely
it's
affected?
meant to be a high-traffic fixture, I think.
Just one question for Sue.
Pretty robust.
And I'm not sure, will we need an insurance certificate on something like this?
DPW will need a permit to do the work.
Okay.
Sure.
So once you've installed it, do you need to change the output of the lighting? Is it as simple as it looks to just pull it up and change the?
Yep, there's you take a screwdriver on the side of it. You can see on the cut sheet there's an adjustment.
Pardon. I'm recording the title. This is cool.
There's a little housing sleeve that sits in, that the concrete and the dirt go up against so that it can be removed. It's like a well pump.
Is there a chance that it would weaken or cause the bluestone to spall more quickly because it's got this metal in the middle of it?
Sidewalk stones, and I recently purchased some from Pacama Stone up on the reservoir. The sidewalk stones are usually 3 and 4 inches thick, and they're subject to tremendous abuse and water infiltrating around all of the joints.
Right, and we're looking at sometimes 300-year-old stone.
Yeah, but it's kind of a mess out there.
Right, I was hoping to see if there was a way to perhaps move the stone so it isn't unnecessarily impacted, because I know you're going to be looking for regular placement.
Correct.
And I'm concerned that it could damage this stone that has been so stable for so long.
Well, in sections there are concrete. There's also concrete missing from a tree that was once there and was removed. And
right, so I'm looking to minimize the impact on the historic bluestone if possible. Is that likely? Is that rational for the site?
If the light lands in a piece of bluestone, it could be shifted. The applicant has committed to lifting up the concrete and replacing it. There are sections of it, so I'm quite certain that he would agree to that.
That would address a concern of mine. Anyone else have Further questions for the applicant? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I move. Phase 1.
Do seeker first,
Second.
please.
Do you have the secret form here on it? All right.
It's type 2, and
Ah.
that's the section.
That's the section. All right. I'm going to hold this in abeyance. I'm going to take a giant step back. You may need to remind me again.
Second.
In Environmental Quality Review Act, I'm going to move that we declare this a type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act.
That bloody related for you.
You want to see what it looks like?
Point it out.
Turn it up.
Point it out.
There you go. Ooh, now it's scary. Thank you.
Okay.
That's clearly a middle school teacher.
Do I have a second to the secret determination motion? Julie will second. All those in favor? Aye. It's unanimous.
Just need to sign the provisions.
All right. Julie, we will circle back to your motion for approval of the project as submitted. Would you like to make findings of fact related to it, or would you like me to try and summarize this?
Please.
All right. Based on the application that's presented today, which includes providing additional lighting to the historic structure at 253 to 55 Wall Street to be inset into the sidewalk adjoining the said building. We find, as a matter of fact, that the fixtures as presented will not create a detriment to the historic nature of the Stockade District, with the proviso that, if necessary, bluestone will be moved so as to avoid drilling holes in existing bluestone sidewalk pieces. And that this project should receive a, I always use the wrong terminology, a notice of preservation action in favor of this project. Do I have a second?
Yeah.
Second from Kevin. All those in favor? Any opposed? No. Thank you. All right.
Well,
And
you
so-
wouldn't have to have text here from, would you?
No, since I was improvising it.
I have the finding of fact boilerplate. Is that acceptable to everybody? Will I use that?
Insert, and I'll have to review it. The one
Yeah,
thing that is
okay.
different is my proviso regarding
Yeah, well,
the blue stuff.
I worked from this sheet as well.
Okay. That would be great. Thank you, Kevin.
We did the signage for this now?
Yes, we're on that same building.
My name is Joe Bikert. I'm with Timely Signs representing Joe O'Connor and O'Connor Partners PLLC. I apologize for not having enough copies. I thought we had sent these in.
Everybody should have received them by email. Yeah.
Right, I believe we did.
Okay.
So we have a sense of what you're looking at, but if someone wants the
That's like a, yeah, we want
a clearer sort of color than usually comes through on a computer. All right, thank you.
So what we're proposing is 6-inch high routed individual letters pin mounted into the facade with newly approved uplighting. That's going to be fantastic. They're 1/2 inch thick, so there's going to be some dimension that the light will be able to play with. Again, they're non-illuminated. They're just they're individual letters. They're replacing a former pan sign that was Edward Jones previously, and it's approximately a little over 4 square feet.
These are flat black.
Flat black.
This is also gone before the Heritage Area Commission and been approved as well.
There's going to be nothing on the Main Street elevation.
This is a small difference, but I had read when I got it over the email that it's 7 inches high, and you're saying 6 inches?
It's the band that is 7 inches high. The
Oh, I
letter is
see.
6 inches.
I get it.
The capital 6 and the actual lowercase on the very end, I believe, is 4 inches. I have it marked on all those.
Okay.
So this is sort of the general layout.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm going to start with a motion that we classify this action as type 2 under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. Do I have a second? Thank you, Davis. All those in favor? Aye. You.
It's just for you to write in your final determination.
This is concerning the
Signage.
okay. All right. Any specific questions regarding the signage for the applicant? All right, then I'll entertain a motion to approve. Hayes, if you'd like to move.
I move that we approve the signage as presented in detail by Joe Biker for 255 Wall Street, O'Connor Partners, PLLC. 87 inches wide by 7 inches high, and a 1/2 inch black PVC stud mount dimensional letters mounted above the entry door on Wall Street.
All right. Do we have a,
The preservation.
you need to mention that you are moving for approval of the preservation notice of action.
With the notice of the preservation.
You'll get used to the lingo soon. We'll accept that as an amendment? Okay. Would someone like to second the motion as amended? Ooh, quick draw. All those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Scott, thank you.
All right, next, 8 John Street.
Yes.
Hooray!
I performed
Now that's
an
enthusiasm.
interactive experience. No, I haven't really. Just have some big samples so you don't have to look at those tiny little ones.
Great.
That is the main color of the building. It is a historic color. It's called Hale Navy, which is ironic because my company is called Hale Advisors. It was not designed that way, but it is an HC color. And I have noticed and done a bunch of research that around the uptown area there are several other homes, much larger than our building actually, that are painted in a similar shade of dark navy. So it is not the only one in uptown. I also have this lovely board that we use to decide some of the other accent colors. So this lace white color will be the trim color and for the columns. And the shutters are being repaired right now and they will be this light gray color. I think it does say on the application that we're repairing the brick. One side of the building was entirely covered by ivy, most of which we removed before the snow fell, just so we could get a good look at it and see what damage there was. It doesn't look extensive damage, so but they'll be repairing that, and it is on this side that is towards the alleyway.
What color is the roof on the building?
The roof is flat, so anyone's guess, yeah.
I can't remember if there's cornice work on your building.
There is. It is not as fancy as either of the two buildings on either side of ours. It doesn't have that same...
Scroll work?
Yeah, scroll work.
Sound reasonable?
In pharmaceutical marketing, I don't know anything, so.
All right.
Yeah,
And
and ignore this color, we are not using it.
so the cornice would be the lace white?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be the main accent color. This is the main color for the shutters that will be against the blue, and this is the main building color. The only color I don't have represented on here is the foundation color, which is a charcoal, which I think we submitted to you as well. It kind of recedes into it looks more natural.
Is the door red?
So the door, that's a really great question. I haven't really honestly selected the door color. I wanted to see what the rest of the building looked like, but the door is underneath a porch. So you can't really see it all that well from the street. And I honestly didn't want to choose red. Right now it's this weird rusty color, you know. The building has to be painted. It's actually, the old paint is chipping off of the brick and it looks terrible. So I haven't chosen a door color. My color of my house, which is a little later, which is 1890, is red. I have a white house with a red door, but I'm not committed to that. So we're gonna wait and see what it looks like.
Was there a particular building locally or elsewhere that was sort of an inspiration for the
Yeah, there are a couple of buildings on Fair Street, speaking of Fair Street, historic Fair Street, that are in this dark navy shade that are so handsome with a very simple light trim, either white or one of them has a variation on the blue, almost like this color, blue trim with it. I actually felt like this would be a little simpler with the gray and the white. So across the street from us is a natural brick building, so that has never been painted. I did think about just trying to restore the natural brick and decided against it.
Have you had a chance to talk with the mason about the type of mortar to match the existing mortar in the wall that needs repair?
No.
It would be a good idea.
Okay.
Just that if too hard of a material is used, it can actually cause destruction to the surrounding brick.
Oh.
And so
I don't know very much about it.
Speak to the mason and just
Honestly,
see what their observations are.
I wasn't really using a mason. I didn't really know I needed to. I was just going to use the painting company.
Well, whoever your contractor is, there is a fairly wide variety in Uptown of types of mortar and types of brick that have been used through the centuries here. So just to make sure that they're aware and are matching as best they can is really useful for the long run, and that's our job to think of the long run.
Great, absolutely.
There's also a preservation brief on this. So
Okay.
you can, if you look for the Secretary of Interior Standards for Rehabilitation online, there will be a brief on historic masonry repair that will give you a lot of good information.
Okay, great. I might leave that to the experts. Again, I work in pharmaceutical marketing, and that's probably Greek to me. Although drugs, I can tell you a lot about. But
even mentioning it to your painter might be helpful, because in the long run, it could save you a lot of money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Your painter might not know this.
He does a lot of brick work, which is why I selected him. So he did the one that's on the corner of Fair and Maiden, that's white with black trim. It's not my favorite choices, but he said that there was a lot of repair work there that needed to be done that they did as well. So that's kind of why I selected him. But I will certainly ask around about it before they do it.
Can I ask who your contractor is?
Meyer. Jeff Meyer is the painting contract.
All right, any other questions from the board for the applicant? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Tanya, no, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're not taking comments from the public anymore? I thought that was part of the process, that you opened it up to the public on each topic?
Ooh, that is a shift.
What?
That is a shift.
A
Yes,
shift?
that is a shift, and I think what we're going to try and do is move people to that sort of commentary at the beginning, as you heard over here.
So I know that you guys took a whole motion to adopt this method of feedback, but how did this shift happen?
Yeah, I don't know that it ever was. I mean,
There was a
at the
meeting where
beginning- At the beginning of each meeting, there's an open public comment period.
It was
where
before you were part of the
individuals can
HLPC.
speak.
It was before you were part of the HLPC, so you weren't here during those meetings. But the board developed a system. It was relatively recently, it was within this past year, that the board decided that they should have a set way of involving the public. It was inspired by the way that they do it in New York City. And there was a motion brought forth and a vote to decide to have this system of feedback from the public. Whereas after the board discussed it, had a chance to discuss it, then it would be open to the public to give feedback on, or ask questions of a different applicants' things. So what my question is when did this get canceled? And was this brought before the whole board, this change?
My comment to you is that it appeared to me that you were asking questions of the applicant. And that is something we have not done.
Oh, no.
Questions must be directed to
Right,
the board. I'm not
going
going to allow crosstalk or anything like that.
I don't know why you...
Okay, did I misread your intent?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Then if you would like to address the board with a question, that's fine.
Okay, thanks. I noticed that there were some questions by the board members about the roof style and what the door is now. Did the board have, yeah?
Yes. You need to finish.
Okay, sorry, I thought Suzanne was saying that I did.
Project.
No, we were asking additional questions. She's correct.
Okay.
Yes?
Did the board get pictures of this project to look at?
No, I don't expect that we will. This is something that we're doing as a question of educating, and when the applicant is ready with a
this is not an application.
No, this is an application for exterior painting and repairing the brick facade. So
But
these are the colors,
Right.
and we'll be discussing that. For the door color, if she wishes to come back at that time,
I understood that,
that's
yeah.
the
But what I'm
normal
asking is,
procedure.
We generally look up the properties on our own.
on your own. I thought that now that it was going to be in planning that you'd be getting the pictures
We
to
did.
look at. You did?
We did.
Oh, then maybe the
relevant.
case just didn't have the pictures yet, because he asked if there was a flat roof.
There was
Or if there was
no-
what color the
There
roof
was
was.
no like reproduction of what it's gonna look like, right? But that's.
Nothing was submitted anyway regarding that.
Well, the color checks were submitted.
Right.
That's all that was submitted. Okay.
This is just a painting.
So that's what we're approving. We had
And you don't-
questions, there's more to do. We'll see you again, as we're letting you know.
Okay, thanks.
I mean, for myself, what I do is, once I have the address, I look it up on the internet, or I go and visit the site and see it for myself.
Okay,
And so that's what happened.
right, because this is a case where an elevation was not required because it was a paint job that you just need the
Well,
gypsum.
with what she was requesting to have done, she mentioned she was gonna bring in the colors for us to look at.
It is
Okay.
best practice if you do a mock-up that shows where the color locations are, sort of graphic representation of that, but as long as paint chips are submitted, and the applicant will go through each planned location for those, then we can visualize.
Thank you.
All right. I will. I'm just keeping.
Sorry.
No, I'm getting used to the flow here. I will entertain a motion to approve.
We don't have seeker.
Thank you for reminding me. I will get used to it. All right, first, I will move that we classify this project is a type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Hayes. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. All right, and let's turn to the project itself. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve? Kevin, do you need help from us?
We're trying to sort, I was photographing the things that came around, and I see there was one marked 8 John Street that came out earlier. I'm just trying
Right.
to sort that out.
That, right, that one got crossed off.
That one got...
This is 8 John.
Yeah, I know.
65 John.
Yeah. I will,
Okay, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for your patience.
I'm nervous. Because I want to pay my building.
No, it's not you, it's just like...
Okay.
You made the motion.
Cool.
I'm seeker, yes, okay, second.
Okay, and then the motion for,
And I'm seeking a motion to approve.
okay.
I'm entertaining a motion to approve. Would someone like to so move?
So moved.
All right. Would someone else like to make findings of fact? Or shall I? All right. Then I shall ask that your motion be amended to include the fact that the proponent of and owner of 8 John Street is planning to use a historic palette to paint the property, including pale blue.
Pale navy.
Pale navy, thank
Yes.
you. Lace
Metropolitan
white.
gray, and I forgot what the name of the lace.
Lace white.
Lace white.
That's what I believe you.
Is that right? Is that what it's called?
They're all Benjamin Moore colors.
And they're all Benjamin Moore, and they're
And I do believe
HC.
we have
We have-
the Benjamin Moore numbers.
Yes.
Okay, so as submitted, together with repair of existing brick, and I would have the board find that the paint and repair as proposed is consistent with the Stockade Historic District and will not detract from the character of the district, and that we should issue a preservation notice of action in approval. Will you accept that amendment, Hayes?
Yes.
Do
Can
we
I
have?
just add something?
Sure.
In terms of the paint colors, I thought you had also mentioned a foundation color,
It's
Kendall
here.
charcoal.
It is there. I just don't have a sample of it
Oh,
here,
okay.
but I
But
included
should that
the
be
2x2
included in
sample.
Should we specify all of the paint colors in the motion?
I think all of the
Okay,
paint
then,
colors should
if
be.
you wish to amend, you're free to do so.
I actually trimmed back all of those bushes. They were in awful shape. So I'm kind of cutting them down so that they can grow up more beautifully.
I would amend the motion to read, the repainting scheme for 8 John Street is approved as submitted with Benjamin Moore Hale Navy HC 154 as the brick color, Kindle Charcoal HC 166, also Benjamin Moore as the foundation paint, Benjamin Moore Metropolitan AF 690 as the shutter color, and Benjamin Moore Cloud White OC 130 as the mullion color. What is that color?
Yeah, trim and, columns and railing.
And the door color will come
With
back.
the door color
And I'll
to
bring
be
the door color
determined.
back as soon as we see.
With
what's
the door
supposed
color
to
to
be
be reviewed and determined.
All right, as amended, do I have a second? Julie, thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Unanimously done, thank you kindly.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next up is 5 John Street.
65.
65 John Street, thank you.
I'm going to recuse myself on this one.
Okay.
Do you want people to leave the room or if they recuse?
I would,
Just leave the table, you have to
Yeah.
leave the table.
yeah, so that you're not seen as part of deliberations. That would be the kindest thing. Thank you.
Can I mention before we start that we have on the agenda 2 new additions in historic districts, and that they usually involve a little bit more review or sort of
In more detail.
in more detail. We could refer to the code and the criteria in the code that we've used in the past.
That's a good idea.
I have extra copies.
Okay, I wouldn't mind receiving one so as to remind me. Thank you, Leslie. All right. Welcome back, Scott. What is your plan?
Pardon me? Proposed?
The code, yeah, the
405-6.
65 John Street. And for those of you that have been in Kingston for a while, affectionately known as the Schneller's Building. In your packet, one of the new applications signed by the applicant, photographs of the site in a key plan, architectural plans of the existing building, and a proposed floor plan. We'll come back to. 3-dimensional renderings showing the existing building and the proposed addition. A survey map and a Part 1 evaluation of significance that was prepared by local preservation specialist that you all know well, Marissa Marvelli. This was submitted to the New York State SHPO. We are seeking an individual listing on the National Register of Historic Places and a recognition by the SHPO office. For those of you that are familiar with our work, our firm does a fair amount of adaptive reuse, historic preservation work. We sought guidance from Preservation Brief 14 in the design for the proposed addition, which is approximately 2,000 square feet of gross floor area. Would be in addition to the rear of the principal structure. We have sought to adhere to the guidance in Preservation Brief 14 by being sympathetic to the historic architecture while not creating a false sense of history or a false narrative. The building is clearly modern in that it has a fair amount of glass, but it has a traditional gable roof to it, and on the far gable end, a masonry echo, if you will. The applicant proposes to continue the historic use of the building. Its most recent use was Schneller's Beer Garden, it's a restaurant, also a butcher shop, the Verst Food in Kingston.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, we are before the City of Kingston Planning Board. All work on this project, in addition to the local review, will be subject to review of the New York State SHPO office.
Did you guys consider brick for that wall at the end of the atrium?
We did not. We certainly can.
Well, then,
The masonry wall?
is it meant to mirror the other side of the beer garden? The buildings at the four corners? What was the thought behind that?
It's not meant to be that literal. But you do have a number of historic stone buildings in Kingston, many of which have been removed, so it's sort of an homage to,
They can be using their song.
you know,
Is that what we want?
so we can look at brick.